You're watching Inside the Zone.
Thanks for watching this week's edition of Inside the Zone. I'm Glenn Marini. Justin Kinney is joining us from Destination Unknown on a Labor Day, man. Like, Justin Kinney could be anywhere in the world. We don't want his fans following him, so he's joining us via Zoom. It's crazy. But then again, so is this high school football season, because we're in week 2, in week 3, after week 2, and I don't know if we know exactly what we got yet, because, Justin, I'm not sure what we can take away after the first 2 games of the season, because it seems like almost every conference race is pretty wide open, and we're not exactly sure, especially in the SAC, who's going to come out on top. And there are a lot of people, a lot of teams that could, as we enter conference play this week. Your thoughts on entering week 3?
We usually use the first 2 weeks of the season to really get a barometer on where teams are at and how things are going to shape up in the conferences. And you mentioned that the SAC, and before we started recording, was kind of like, okay, last week we thought ABC, and then this week we have Dwenger have a great showing at home against a good program out of Toledo, and Homestead goes down and beats Noblesville with its backup quarterback in his first start. And so we don't know anything right now, basically, as we head into conference season getting started, particularly with SAC season starting here coming up on Friday night.
That's where I kind of wanted to start this, because I've had more people just being out on the sidelines, being at practice, ask me who the team to beat in the SAC is this year. And I didn't have an answer then, and I have less of an answer now. What is your take on, especially in the big division, who's the team to beat in the SAC? Is it Carroll? Snyder's off to a rough start. Like, who is the team to beat in the Summit Athletic Conference with conference play kicking off this week?
Despite being 0-2, I look at Carroll as still that team to beat. Yet they've had a very difficult schedule, obviously, with Hamilton Southeastern and then Center Grove. They've been in both games. And I think it was really encouraging to see Gabe Freisinger have the game he did against Center Grove, because he looked like a deer in the headlights in week 1. It's expected, first ever start. You got to do it at Hamilton Southeastern, but he looked much more comfortable in week 2. And I feel like still, with the playmakers that Carroll has offensively and the defense that they have, led by Eli Newhouser, I feel like the Chargers are still the team to beat. But you can make a case for Dwenger. You can make a case maybe for Homestead after what we saw on Friday night. And Northrop fans are saying, don't forget the Bruins, fellas.
That is one of the things I want to talk about. We'll talk about this later. Our game of the week is going to be Northrop against Northside. I don't think offense is going to be a problem in that game. But when we talk about, we did our win of the week last week, and it was Columbia City. My win of the week for this week, it's got to be the Homestead Spartans. You talk about going down to Noblesville. That's always tough. You're playing a 6A team on the road for the second week in a row after losing at Westfield 35-0. You don't have Michael White, your senior starting quarterback that's going to be playing at Grand Valley State next year, and yet they go down, get a fourth quarter touchdown that was clutch, Carter Kennedy a couple TDs, and beat Noblesville on the road. What can you say about that victory? I mean, for Homestead, you're coming back feeling really good about what you were able to accomplish, especially without Michael White at quarterback.
It's amazing what you can do in a week, and coaches have said, the greatest jump in a season is between weeks 1 and 2. And Homestead went down, played Westfield, who is a very much a state contender, and you feel like that was a very much a learning experience for Homestead, and a costly learning experience in losing Michael White. Then you go down to Noblesville, a team that beat you up last year, and we're thinking as outsiders, okay, Spartans just got to get through this week without any more major injuries and get into SAC play. And instead they go down there, like you said, get that late touchdown, get a win, and the confidence that they're bringing back with them is through the roof. And so now for Homestead, and this is and similar maybe to Bishop Dwenger, right? Dwenger falls 3-0 to Roncalli in week 1. They can't score. The defense played really well, but Henry Jordan struggled last week with 3 picks. They come back, they beat a really good St. Francis de Sales team out of Toledo, and Beckham Russell with a couple touchdown receptions. The defense was good. Carter Zent, a pick 6, and now all of a sudden you're looking at DeWanger as feeling really good coming into week 3. So it's really a depending on the week type thing where you're at, and it comes back around to saying in the SAC, what do we got? I think you look at Carroll, despite that 0-2 record, but then a lot of uncertainty after that. But you can make a case for 3, 4, 5 different teams that could very much challenge Carroll for that top spot in the league.
And I want to talk a little bit about the game of the week for on the highlight zone. It was East Noble against Snyder. Snyder, had some key injuries leading up to the week, but you think, okay, here's a 5A team playing up in 6A. We know what Snyder's about, their program history. East Noble's tough, but man, East Noble we were talking about it off camera. East Noble kind of out-Snydered Snyder in the physicality and winning the ball game up front, and then let their playmakers make plays in a dominant 29-7 win. What's your takeaway from that victory, and how scared should the rest of the NE8 be, the Leos and the Columbia Cities of the world, with the performance we saw Friday night by East Noble?
It was very much a complete performance out of East Noble. And talking to Riley Biddle after the game, so, this is the 3rd time for me trying to beat Snyder, and 3rd time was the charm. And it was a very much a dominant performance from the outset. I think the tone was set when East Noble forced Snyder into a 3-and-out to start the game, and then East Noble drove down the field in 7 to 8 minutes, primarily running the football 3, 4, 5, 6 yards at a time, consistently getting that push up front. And that's what Snyder does to people. And East Noble did it to Snyder. And 3 or 4 instances on Friday night where East Noble guys are just barreling over Snyder defenders with East Noble running the ball. I mean, the Lucas Nyman touchdown was maybe the most emphatic one early in the 4th quarter. But that's what Snyder does to people. They just fire off the ball and they push you back and they demoralize you with that running game. And East Noble did it to Snyder. So it really says something for East Noble as a program, because they lost so much to graduation. And we felt like, okay, this team may be the best team in the NE8 again, but where are they at in terms of 4A? And they still have 2 months to go. And you're already looking at that group on both sides of the football saying, this is a Knights team that is primed to make another deep run in the playoffs, with Riley Biddle really leading the way as that veteran quarterback.
Yeah, and Josh Ann was up there in Kendallville. He had a chance to chat with the East Noble Knights. Here's what they had to say about that game of the week victory against the Snyder Panthers.
About how you guys got off to a solid start against Snyder.
Yeah, man, we were pedal to the metal right at the beginning. I told my boys I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else, and that's exactly what we did. Right from that first snap, we were on their throats, and we kept going till the end of the game, and we were prepared for it coming into this.
Offensively, how were you able to get into an early rhythm against Snyder defense?
Yeah, I mean, Snyder, it's a great program, and I definitely got to be better myself. I got to make smarter decisions. But just overall, it's a team effort, and everybody was locked in from Monday this week, and we kept that rolling into tonight. And, we were playing for the guy next to us. We weren't playing for ourselves. We wanted to do it as a team, and that's what we did.
Yeah, how do wins against Snyder and Wayne build confidence for the early on in the season?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great, beating some Fort Wayne powerhouse schools, especially like Snyder. We've never beat them. That's the only Fort Wayne school we've never beat. So just keeping that rolling in the NE8 play, we're very confident. We're looking very good. We just got to clean up the little things, myself personally, and we just got to keep it rolling. Roll Knights.
How do you carry this momentum into conference play?
I mean, honestly, it's a lot of confidence. We feel confident that we can go out there and do this even worse to teams in our conference because, we're just prepared. Honestly, that's what I'd say. We're prepared for it. We're ready for it.
We had a good game plan coming into it. Monday, film day. Watch a lot of film on these guys. They like to run the ball. Our coaches definitely helped that. Shout out Aldi. Shout out Yates. Great game plan.
Offensively, how are you able to get into an early rhythm against Snyder's defense?
Practicing all week definitely helps us. Adding in new plays, doing our stuff that we're used to. Throwing the ball, running the ball, we can do it all. So,
how do wins against Snyder and Wayne help build confidence this early on in the season?
Conference play is big for us. Games like Leo, Columbia City. They're going to be big games. So, I mean, it really just, for a lot of the younger guys like Nyman and Lil AP, it builds a lot of confidence in him and really everybody else too.
How do you hope to carry this momentum into conference play?
It's week 3. We got Huntington North. We're 1-0 tomorrow. So Saturday we'll be watching film on Huntington North and then gearing up for them. So.
All right. How are you guys able to get off to such a solid start against Snyder here today?
It starts up front. On the defensive side of the ball, we did a good job of stopping the run, and on the offensive side of the ball, we did a good job running the football.
Offensively, how were you able to get into an early rhythm against Snyder's defense?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it starts up front, and we had a couple good running backs who were making some good cuts and following their blocks, and up front, those guys are getting on their blocks and staying on them and finishing, and we just did a great job up front.
How are wins against Snyder and Wayne to help build confidence this early on in the season?
Yeah, those are SAC teams. Snyder's one of the most well-respected programs in the state of Indiana. I definitely think it's a boost of confidence going into conference play because our conference is a really tough conference. We've got 7 games coming up in conference that are tough games, and having good competition in weeks 1 and 2 definitely strengthens us for those games.
How do you hope to carry this momentum into conference play?
We've just got to push the reset button in the morning. I told the kids, enjoy the win tonight. We're going to come in, watch film, make some corrections, and then after that, we're pushing the reset button, and we're trying to go 1-0 next week.
Okay, let's look ahead to what we've got in week 3 with conference play starting. Our highlight zone game of the week, I mentioned it earlier, is going to be Northside at Northrop. Let's start there. I know the show's been pretty SAC heavy, but there's a lot of intrigue right now, and these are 2 of the most interesting teams. We've always said, if Northside can block and play up front and protect the quarterback, they could be dangerous. This might be the team that's able to do that. And then with Northrop, I don't know that anybody's got the weapons that they do. Again, if they block up front, keep David Callison healthy, and allow their quarterback to make plays and get the ball. How do you see this one playing out? Because this could be a shootout, or I could see it also being a shootout. I only anticipate it being a shootout. I'd like to see a game like in the 50s and 40s.
All right, let's do a 60 to 58 type game, like a basketball score. But congratulations to Northrop because week 1, their dominant performance. You say defensively they looked good, and then week 2 they fall behind 14 to Huntington North early on, 20-6. And people that are scoreboard watching go, "Hi, see, there's Northrop, same old Bruins," and they storm back and win that game. And now they're sitting at 2-0 for the first time in seemingly forever. I haven't even had time to look it up. But they come in with a lot of energy. And then conversely, Northside, 2-0 for the first time since 2012. And another huge night for Jaden Rivers against New Haven on Friday night. Jarmeek Harrison with a couple touchdown receptions. Mm-hmm. It's kind of small, like some screen passes that they broke loose. And that kind of goes to that blocking, right? And so for Northside, I think they're going to be a lot of mirror images of each other in terms of gunslinging quarterbacks that can get the ball out in space to guys who can make plays. Maybe this game comes down to a key play or 2 on defense. While both may give up 30-plus points, which team has a key interception, a key turnover, something like that. But for the first time in quite some time, these 2 teams playing feels like a really, really big game in the SAC. And that's great. It's great to see because both of these programs, particularly Northrop, have really struggled for a long time. And for them to have some excitement because we know how success can breed success and get more kids out. And Northrop has the biggest enrollment in Fort Wayne Community Schools. If they can get any type of momentum and get more bodies out and more talent, it's just going to start steamrolling. So this is a big game for both teams, but I think particularly for Northrop.
Yeah, and Jerquaden Guilford has really set the tone for them. He's, depending on what website you like, the number 1 or number 2 player in the state of Indiana for this senior class committed to Ohio State. How do you go about slowing him down? Because nobody has been able to do that yet this year, although nobody has had a safety like Malik Moore.
No, it's true. And that's the thing is do you trust your defensive backs to be able to cover him one-on-one, or do you bracket him with Malik Moore and kind of take away and take your chances with other guys for Northrop. That's the problem, is the Bruins have other guys other than Quay. So that's kind of the big thing. I think this is just as you mentioned, just kind of a back and forth, big plays on both sides, and maybe who makes the mistakes or which defense gets the key stop at a key time that's going to decide this one. Northside wants to prove that it is a player in the SAC in terms of a potential championship. Northrop does too, but I feel like even more than that, as we look at taking incremental steps up, Northrop wants to show that it's an improved program even in the SAC. You may go 2-0 in non-conference, but until you start winning games in the SAC, people are going to doubt you. So it's a big game for both teams, but even more, I think, for Northrop is kind of a prove-it game to say, yeah, we're 2-0 in the non-conference, but we're legit in this league as well.
Let's talk about the NE8 now, and the game that's going to headline this week in the NE8. Columbia City's off to a nice 2-0 start. Leo's off to a nice 2-0 start, but Huntington North at East Noble. Huntington North was one of the stories of the season last year, coming back and winning their first ever sectional since 1993. They've got a couple of losses, but they played well at times in both of those games. A 1-point loss to Eastbrook at home to open, and they had the lead on Northrop last week before eventually yielding that. And we've already talked about what East Noble's been able to do. So this could be a huge game. What do you see being the key between the Vikings and the Knights on Friday night?
Well, it's been a tough couple of weeks for Huntington North to start the season. That missed PAT that would have tied Eastbrook at the end in week 1, and then blowing that 14-point lead to Northrop in week 2. Now they have to go to Kendallville and take on East Noble in week 3. So for Huntington North, it's all about being able to contain, I think, that running game. You looked at what East Noble was able to do against Snyder, and it was Ian Ramey to start. He goes down with an injury, and then you have a sophomore that comes in and Lucas Nyman and performs, and then you have the freshman Phillips, who is just body type is just looks like a college freshman. So yeah. They have dudes at East Noble. For Huntington North to compete in this one, you're going to have to man up in the trenches and win some of those battles. And then you take your chances with Riley Biddle, getting the ball downfield to guys like Alex Scott. So I think it starts for Huntington North in the trenches, being able to limit East Noble's ability to move the ball on the ground, and that will be pivotal.
Moving on to the ACAC, when you talk about the Allen County Athletic Conference, it starts with Adams Central, but it doesn't stop there. This is a conference that we've seen over the last 10 or 15 years that's improved in terms of the depth of quality teams in the conference. And South Adams is going to be at Bluffton. I know that people are talking about AC. They're off to a 2-0 start. They're the reigning state champs, obviously. But South Adams made it to semi-state last year, and a lot of those guys were juniors. Meanwhile, Bluffton played a lot of sophomores last year, and I know Coach was like, we're pretty decent now, but wait for the future. Daddy Kunks really liked what he had going on there. This is a game where now the future is here for both of these teams. So how do you see this one playing out? I think this is like a sneaky under the radar outside of Fort Wayne, really great matchup for a Friday night in Bluffton.
It's very much one of those eliminator games in the ACAC on who's going to have the best shot at Adams Central, because recent history has shown that it's not everybody beats up on each other and whoever's left at the top at the end wins this league. It's an Adams Central league. The teams that have won this league in the past have went through it with undefeated records or one-loss records. So when you look at this one, we talked about offense with Northrop and Northside. This could be a very similar game as well. South Adams was really able to blitz Belmont, was up 40-0 at the end of the first quarter last Friday. And then Bluffton, conversely, really was able to have a lot of success. AJ Strebler, a couple touchdowns. He has 8 catches for the season through the first 2 weeks, 4 of which have went for touchdowns. And so it's not bad percentage for AJ Strebler. Axton Best continues to put up big numbers with his arms and his legs. I think when you look at this game and this rivalry, it's going to be a fun game because there's a lot of dudes that can make plays, and very much like we said with Northrop and Northside in the SAC. So I expect a high scoring affair. I think the Bluffton defense may be a little bit better than South Adams right now. If they can get a couple stops next Friday night, it could make all the difference, because this could be, a 1st to 40 type game down in Bluffton.
Let's talk about the NECC. Busco at Garrett is kind of the headlining game there, and Busco, tough road loss. They led late in that one, but lost to Lakeland 14-12 up in the Swamp. Won their opener against Bremen, and then you take a look at a Garrett team that's off to an 0-2 start, but you're still feeling pretty good about the 7-0 loss in week 1 at Adams Central at their place, the way you played defensively specifically in that game. New head coach, obviously, Chris Albertine. How do you see this one playing out? As Garrett played pretty well in the first half against DeKalb, had the lead before eventually falling to the Barons in week 2.
Well, it was turnover problems for Garrett last Friday. They get up 7-0, like you mentioned, and just couldn't hold on to the football. I think the concern for the Railroaders right now is you've scored 1 touchdown, 7 points in 2 weeks. And yeah, you played a really good Adams Central team, obviously, and then a DeKalb team that you thought you could get right against, and instead, and taking nothing away from DeKalb, that's a solid win for them. But you expected more out of Garrett through the first 2 weeks in terms of offense. They have to replace guys like Calder Hefty, but you have Braden Nussbaum back. You have Alex Guzman back. So those were 2 prolific dudes. But we often forget, when you have to replace dudes in the trenches, it can make all the difference. So I think this is kind of a get-right game potentially for Garrett. If it's going to be – I know it's a cross-division game, so it really doesn't count. But at the same time, if Garrett is serious about trying to repeat as champions – of that division, then I think this is pivotal. So tough game got away from Churubusco at Lakeland, but now this is going to be for real next week with these 2 teams.
And I want to circle back to the SAC because Bishop Dwenger is at Wayne. Wayne's still looking for the first win of the Darion White era. I think he's going to do good things long term for them, but it's kind of a rough loss, 33-6 at South Bend Riley in week 2. We did have a chance to mic him up in week 1 to get a behind the scenes look at how he runs his program as a first year head coach. And here is that story with Darion White and the Generals.
What's going on, man?
You mic'd up?
Yeah, we mic'd up. Don't say nothing crazy.
Come in. Do you have other balls?
Yeah, we're going to get them now.
I need them right now, please.
Yep. Balls. Ready, Mitch?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Let's do it. Ready?
Let's do it. Ready.
Let's go.
Where's your hat at, man? You don't want to
Because
wear a hat?
they went blackout, so I'm going to wear it next week. It's black. I got to go be a dad. You want to go in the locker room, Monty? He said no. He don't want to go in the locker room.
Next up, we have Jace White.
Come on. We stop here. Yep. The boys got the gang.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jace White.
Hey, mama. Ready? Let's go. Take some good shots, okay? It's for my memories, man. First year.
How you doing?
Thank you, seniors, for being who you are. Now it's time to go show what we got. Now it's time. So my mom sent me a message. I'm gonna read it to you. If you got up this morning and looked yourself in the eye and said, we're ready, then you already won. If you made every practice, learned every play, ran on the field like it was your last state championship, then you already won. If you stood on the sidelines and saw not just teammates, but the faces of brothers, then you already won. Everything we need to win this football game is in this room right now. The ingredients, we got it. We just got to take it out and follow the recipe. So when we follow the recipe, then we're going to cook. You understand? We're going to follow the recipe and then we're going to cook. We're going to do our job. We're going to execute. We're going to play smart football. And we're going to send them home to their maker. And then we'll let God sort them out when they get there. You understand? Yes, well, then let's go then.
All right, so week 3 is upon us. Conference play is upon us. Justin, what are you most looking forward to about seeing this coming Friday night with conference championship implications kicking in right here in week 3?
Yeah, you said it. Jumping into the conference season now, and it really starts mattering because while we circle games later on in the regular season as key to championship races, we have some games coming up in week 3 that could very much decide things early. Once we get to the end of the season, we look back and say, hey, that week 3 win or loss was a big deal. So some of these games that are coming up this week are going to be very, very impactful as we get towards the end of the season and start crowning some league champions. So looking to get into conference play and very eager to see how week 1 goes in the SAC and NE8 in particular.
I'm putting you on the spot here, but if there's one word to describe this season through 2 weeks, what would that be?
Let's see. I think it's I don't want to say chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's boring. I would say interesting. But if I was a wordsmith, I could come up with something better and interesting. But in terms of coming out of the first 2 weeks, it almost feels like we have more questions than answers.
Mm-hmm.
Still, we usually look at it and say, okay, give us 3 weeks and we kind of can tell you who's good and who's bad. We have one more week to do that, to fit that. But I still think through 2 weeks, we're like, I don't know. And especially with a lot of SAC teams, it's like, okay, Carroll, you're 0-2, Snyder, you're 0-2, Northrop, you're 2-0, Northside, you're 2-0, but we still have a lot of questions about all 4 of those teams. So, maybe I would say puzzling more than anything. Let's say puzzling. We'll go with that word.
I didn't have a word. It was more of a, huh. I'm like,
right?
Huh. Well, some of these teams are 2-0. Some of these teams are 0-2. I don't know what we got. I just, I am interested, but I just don't know what we got yet. So, and normally, like, you're right, we have a better idea of what we got at this point. So, but again, at this point last year, I think I've said it already multiple times this year, we weren't sure what we were going to have, and we had 4 teams go to state. So anything is truly possible, and we need to keep our schedules open on Thanksgiving weekend. So such it is. Do. All right. Well, Justin, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us for this Labor Day edition of Inside the Zone. For Justin, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you next Monday right here on Wayne.com.
You're watching Inside the Zone.